Hi, welcome back to Creative Faith with Makenna. I'm Makenna if you didn't know, and I'm in college, and what this video is going to be talking about today is I am in the graphic design program at a college. I'm not going to say which college for privacy reasons, but graphic design program, that's the program I'm in, and I wanted to tell you all about it. So because my first term of the program is done, my first term of college, can't believe it. But because that's done, I wanted to tell you all about all the projects I've done, the classes I had, and I just want to let you know what it's all about. And maybe if you are not sure what to do, maybe this video will help you in deciding what you want to do for college. Like, I don't know, I just wanted to tell you all about my semester, my first term of my program. So I'm going to go over the classes based on how they showed up in my week. On Mondays, I had photography for designers. That was the class I had on Mondays. On Tuesday, I had applied digital tech. And then on Wednesday, I had two classes. I had typography in the morning and then design one in the afternoon. And then Thursday I also had two classes. I had drawing techniques in the morning and then I had English in the afternoon, like just a communications class. And then on Friday I had design appreciation. I kind of refer to it as art history, so that's probably what I'll refer to it as throughout the video. Just as a recap, I had 7 classes this term and I'm going to tell you all about all the projects I had to do in them. Side note, I know a lot of programs have exams. Mine had none. So there's no exams. It's very, very assignment heavy. I just wanted to mention that. I thought it was important to say that because it is more of an art program than like any other program that you'd actually have exams in. For photography, we had to do 5 projects. The first project was called Sense of Place. So you kind of just had to pick a place and then take 9 photographs and just kind of all different angles and just try to kind of encapsulate the feel of the place that you chose. So for me, I was living in student housing, so I noticed next door, because I'm like in a semi, I noticed next door there was a car, a really old looking car next to a tree, and it just looked like very picturesque, so I decided to do that. I'll show you some of the pictures, but that was my first assignment in my photography class. And then my second assignment in that class was a portrait assignment. So I just kind of had to do portraiture, so I kind of cheated a little bit on this one because I had done a photography passion project in grade 12 for English like the year before, and for that I had taken beautiful pictures of my parents. It was really nice pictures. We went to a park and it was kind of funny because it was a foggy day and I wasn't sure how that would affect the pictures, but it ended up having the most beautiful effect on the pictures. And so I really didn't have to do a lot for this project because it was basically all done for me because I did it last year. So of course I didn't tell the teacher that. Yeah, so these are some of the pictures from that project. Then I had to do a product photography advertisement. So I got a light box from my brother for my 18th birthday. And so I decided to do a set of rings. I used a pillowcase as like the backdrop to make it nice and smooth and just to send the overall message as these rings are comfortable, you know. So I took that picture using the light box and my camera, and then I edited it to add the words and the line, you know, that all jewelry advertisements tend to have. But the funny part was that because it's an advertisement, you had to pick like a company or make your own or whatever. So I did Griffin's because that's where I got both my rings from. So, and I even sent the advertisement to the company over Facebook Messenger just to see what they thought of it, you know, just to get some feedback. They said that they liked it, but that the only thing that they changed was that to turn the bottom ring a little bit to show more of that ring as well. And I never thought about that, and now looking at it, I kind of see what they mean. Then project 4 was a Masters of Photography assignment. So you had to pick from a list. You had to pick a famous photographer. This was not my favorite assignment because it was hard. I ended up going with a woman, Gail Albert Halliban or something, and she does photography of windows to capture the mundane moments of everyday life. I thought that would be good because, you know, there's no lack of windows, you know, there's windows everywhere. But the problem was my house, like my house at home, not my college house. Our house is like not completely level, so the windows on our main level are so high off of the ground. So it was kind of hard to do this assignment. I just tried to do my best. Here are some of the pictures I managed to do, but it was just kind of hard, especially because I just didn't have the right equipment in my situation. And then the last assignment, project 5, was a flat lay narrative. So you had to do a flat lay of your life, basically the important things in your life, just like tell your story through a flat lay narrative. So some of the important things in mine were my iPad. I love to draw. It's like an important part of my life. My Bible, I'm Christian, so that's really important to me too. And if you notice, the whole flat lay is pink because that's my favorite color. Some pictures, some Polaroids that I included as well. Some little flower clips meant to represent flowers. I don't necessarily wear the clips all the time, but you know. A sister sign I made just to, you know, say I have a sister and she means a lot to me. And I also included some of my painted rocks from my painted rock phase in 2020. Those are important because it led me to where I am now in my graphic design program. I would have never been able to consider actually going into art as my career. So tribute to the painted rocks, they needed to be included. Anyway, so that was project 5, and I just wanted to show you that. So that was the end of my photography class that I wanted to talk about. On Tuesdays, I had a class called Applied Digital Tech, and I wasn't sure how I was going to feel about this class. I was kind of excited, but you know me, I love drawing on my iPad on the app Procreate, so I wasn't sure how learning a new software was going to go, because that is basically what that class was. I kind of knew Applied Digital Tech. I kind of thought, I'm going to be learning a new software. Hope it's fun. I had 6 projects. The first project was very tedious, though I understand why we did it, but it was really tedious, and he had a whole outline of like his expectations and what he was marking you on. And so the first project was having to trace skulls. The first skull was just an outline, the second skull was a fill, and then the third skull was a combination of both. And then you had to create your own skull. So that was tedious, and that was the first assignment, so that was fun, but not really. The second assignment was to do a badge logo, so we had to follow along with his instructions in creating, basically copying his logo, and then we, like, just to get the gist of what he wanted, and then we would go on and do our own logo. So this is the logo that I made. I just kind of thought that it was an okay assignment. I think my logo turned out well, but I don't know, I just thought that it was kind of Then the third project was a book cover and poster design. I thought it was more work because it wasn't so much like the other ones were more directed, but this one required you to be more creative, and that was okay, but it just wasn't my favorite because I had to actually draw a character, like a person, and that's not my forte. So, but I think I did relatively well. On to Photoshop. The Photoshop first assignment was a 1-page website. I actually, surprisingly, I really enjoyed doing this because it allowed me to like create a cohesive color palette and actually create like a logo for a photography company, grab some pictures off of free websites online, and it was just, I actually kind of liked laying out the website. So this was actually one of my favorite projects from this class. Yeah, I really like how it turned out, and just how it all the colors and pictures just create like a really cohesive vibe. Like the first 3 pictures in the banner represented the different types of photography is offered. So like a wedding photographer, family family photography, and then like graduation photography. Like those are just a few of the examples. I don't know, it's just there's a message and meaning behind the way I laid it out, and I love it. Project 5 was also for Photoshop, and this one was interesting because this was a touch-up magazine assignment. So you had to pick a picture of your own that needed touch up on the skin. So like you had to have a person in it, and you needed to just touch up their skin and whatever, enhance the lighting and whatever it is. I did enjoy this assignment because it was helpful to learn all of the ways that you can touch up people in Photoshop. I used my grandma for this one, so I really like how it turned out. Like the magazine looks so good, and it's like you don't think that a picture looks that bad until you actually use your skills to enhance it, and then you're like, wow, I'd never go back to what it was before. Like it's just crazy. I love like the little slogans I put in for this one. It's just I really love how this one turned out, especially like the magazine portion, because I had to edit her photo, and then I had to cut out her and then put her on like another canvas, and it was a cool project. I kind of liked it. And then the last one was for Adobe InDesign. This was more of a layout program, so we had to do a final brochure showcasing some of our artwork, and it didn't have to be from the program, like from the class itself. It could be from anything. Like I do so many drawings and designs on my iPad, so I did some of that. It was tedious. It did take time to put together this brochure and this new program, because this was the only project we did for InDesign versus doing 2 for Photoshop and 3 for Illustrator. So I did like it though, and I think that my brochure turned out well. If you look at it on the screen, I think it turned out well, and just a little description and then my life story on the back. I think I like it. So for typography, which was my first class on Wednesday, for this class there were a lot of exercises. It actually wasn't like big projects. It was a lot of just exercises. Oh, for those of you that don't know, typography is learning the art of letter forms. So looking at each letter that makes up a font, like a typeface, and then learning how to build them and whatever kind of stuff that includes. That was this class, and it was a lot of exercises. The first exercise was having to copy out 4 fonts, capital and lowercase. We did a really long project. I put a lot of my heart and soul into this project. This project was having to measure out letters. I swear, I think I put like 15-20 hours of my life into this thing. That's a lot. We had to measure out from the page we were given to our big sheet, and we had to measure them out, and it might not seem that hard, but it was hard. It was hard to get them accurate. And then we had to use gouache and paint them over, make them black, fill them in, you know. And so that was a big assignment. That took like weeks in that class. So, and then the last thing was just carving out a stamp, just design your own design. I did the word faith, and then just doing like a little print using the really old century printing machines that they have in the college. So that was typography. Design 1 was the class I had in the afternoon on Wednesdays. So that class, we spent weeks on this project of observation and rendering. That was basically the only pencil and paper project in that class. The assignment was you had to pick a Canadian symbol, and she'd laid out a bunch of them. So I chose a flower. What I didn't think about when I chose my flower, because she gave you a black and white picture and then a color picture. What I didn't think about when I chose my flower was that the flower was white. And what was I doing? The color little drawing on white paper. So that was hard, but I managed to do it. You had to do 1 grayscale. So just like a regular sketch grayscale drawing of your symbol. Then you had to do a color one, which was the one that was hard for me because I chose a white flower. Stippling, which is like pointillism one, and that took a lot of time, but I actually really like how that one turned out. I think it looks really nice and neat, and it's just kind of cool. Then you had to do a shape one and then a line one. I didn't know how complicated these were supposed to be, so I did them and took them to the teacher, and she was like, this isn't what you're supposed to do. But I was okay with that because I actually really liked how they turned out. So better to do more work on something and then be told, oh, you need to do it again, but have it be less work, rather than having it done less work and not being able to go back to add more detail, like, you know. So I actually really like how the shape and line ones that I did that were too complex turned out. And I can use them in the next term because it's part of another project using our drawings. And then I just did them way simpler for the teacher, which is what she wanted. There were a few collages which were really boring. They were really boring. They were elements and principles of design collages. They were boring, but they were worth marks, so I had to do them. So I did those. And then we did this Eames House of Cards design. So it's like a pack of 12 cards that you have to design based on the elements and principles of design. So these are the cards that I designed, and then you had to create a brochure to kind of advertise the Eames House of Cards kind of toy. And then there was copyright material that you had to include. It was a lot of designing. The funny part was that when I was doing this brochure, I was also working on the brochure for digital tech. So it was kind of like a lot of brochures at the same time. It was hard to pick a color for the background and a font for the brochure because it needs to be professional looking. It was just kind of hard to make it look cohesive and all unity, like it's all supposed to go together. And the hardest part was picking a color for the background because all of the cards needed to stand out. Like you can't have a color clashing. Like, it's kind of hard to pick a color that will work with all 12 colors of all of these card designs. I think it turned out pretty nice in the long run. This brochure was pretty good. And then the last project for this class was a monogram. I actually kind of liked this one. It was the last one, didn't take too long, and you just had to do 25 thumbnail sketches. I used my iPad to manipulate text on Procreate just as the sketches because I just thought it was easier than having to draw them out and get the point across as to what I was trying to do. So these are the 25 thumbnail sketches. I kind of like there's some that are not my favorite, there's some that are more unique, and then the second part of the project was you had to pick two of them, think the idea out more. One of them 2D, and then the other one would be 3D. So my 2D one was the idea of M and T that were connected by thread. So it's like perfect for like a sewing company or like something like that. And then, so that was my 2D design. And then my 3D design was an M and T that the T kind of flowers out into an umbrella. Weather company, weather network. A lot of my designs, thumbnail sketches, could actually be company logos. There was one design that was kind of looked like an M and a T with the negative space, but the T was kind of made into a kite with a little line that kind of like the string of a kite flying away. So it'd be like MT's kite company. And then there was one that would be perfect for a matchmaking company. It was an M, like a really curvy M that looked like a heart with a T as kind of like the little stitch. So that would be like a little matchmaking company, and then T with the umbrella on the top of the T was like perfect for MT's weather network. There's one that looks like a scarf for the M and the T, which would be MT's winter clothing or scarf company. There's a one that says Makenna with a T, but the AKENNA is on like a little clothesline, so it's like, I don't know, maybe like a laundry service. It's kind of funny just how many of them looked like company logos, or the ideas kind of flourished into company logos. Next, on Thursday, my morning class was drawing techniques. This class was primarily a lot of perspective drawing, which was, I didn't know how I'd feel about that, but I actually really liked it because now looking back, I would look at perspective drawings and I'd think, how did you do that? Like, how? Like, it's so complicated trying to think of perspective and where things go where and not making it look distorted. But now I can do that, to a degree, of course, but now I can do that because we built up to that and it actually wasn't that hard. So it's kind of like, wow, like I can do that now. Anyway, so these are some of the projects I did in that class. We started off this semester with a lot of exercises. So learning how to make a cube. We did this drawing exercise where you had to draw the set of shapes, cubes and stuff from the angle that you were sitting in the class. The first big project was a cityscape, which was kind of fun, but it was also like you had to think it out. And the hard part with all these assignments was he would do like a demo in class, but I had to make it different from what he was doing. Or like, you didn't have to, but I wanted to make it different to go above and beyond. So with the cityscape, you had to have a billboard, and so I did a double billboard that said smile on each side. And my buildings were kind of big. You had to do the sidewalk slabs. You had to do like windows and doors on them in almost every building, and then you had to choose a few select buildings to shade. The shading was kind of tedious too, but I actually really liked how the cityscape turned out. I actually even did an apartment building with a fire escape on the side of it, like what you'd see, like what I would imagine like the Friends building from the TV show, the fire escape that they're always, you know, talking about, like that idea. So, and he thought that was actually kind of cool, and he called mine out on that, so that was kind of fun. And then I did like a sale, 25% off, and then a repair. It kind of reminds me of like Canadian Tire, kind of the repair garages. And the next big project in this class was a room design. So think of interior design. And mine was kind of different, because in his demo there was 2 walls, and then you had to have 3 pieces of furniture. That was the specifications, 3 pieces of furniture, not including a TV, and then a door, like a set of doors, and then some windows and extra stuff, a carpet, and then you had to do the flooring. So for this one, I did a double door set, which is kind of cool. And actually this kind of reminds me of my grandparents' living room, family room, whatever it is, at their house. So it's kind of funny, and I didn't even do it that way. Didn't think I was doing it that way. In the other projects, we were doing square tiles, and I feel like that looked too much like kitchen floors. So I asked him, can I do like more rectangular ones, more like hardwood? And he said, go for it. So that's what I did for this one, to make it look more like a family room rather than a kitchen flooring. The couch turned out okay. The carpet, we made it a lot easier to not have to do as much flooring. And then I have this sidewall going out, which is kind of cool because it just happened that way. I don't know why I did it that way, but it just happened that way. And then with the doors, you can kind of see that there's a hallway leading out, which is kind of cool. It's just kind of cool, this room design. I enjoyed doing this one. Then the next project was a cutaway house. So you had to do an exterior house and then like a garage or something, like a secondary smaller building. You had to do a cutaway view. So it was incorporating the cityscape idea with the interior room idea. So you had to do the outside of a building, but then also do the inside of a small section of the buildings. In his examples, the cutaway was always on the bottom. So I decided, you know what, I'm gonna do a cutaway on the top. Like, I like to be different. I did a little flower bed. There's even some like strings hanging from the roof, which I kind of like. There's like a couch leaning up against the cutaway part. It's just like glass, you know. I challenged myself with this one to do arches. I don't know how I like that. Like, I think it makes it look more rich, but it's also was harder, so they're not as like symmetrical, and they don't all look the same kind of arch style. I did some windows going down along one side of the house. We had to do a fence for this one. I don't know if I would have put it in otherwise, but we had to. So, and then some bushes and some shading on the garage and stuff. This one was okay. It wasn't my favorite, but it was okay. Going back to the cityscape idea, I actually really like the idea of this one. So you had to do product boxes on a cityscape. So it's like giant product boxes with a sidewalk and some like, and everything like else normal sized. So for mine, I did macaroni and cheese, like kind of like craft dinner idea for the box in the middle. I did Eggo waffles to the box to the side, and then to the side of that box I did bacon, like the fakin', like the ones that you just microwave. And then to the side of the macaroni and cheese box, I did a bag of chips because I felt like everything else was so rectangular. I wanted to do something a little bit different. So Ruffles, all dressed, just a bag of chips. And then you can see the little lights, the little lamp posts on the sidewalk, and they're like so small compared to all these giant product boxes. I thought this one was kind of fun, and I really like how it turned out. And then the last assignment for this class was an exploded sandwich. So you was kind of playing with more freestyle idea. Now, I'm not a big sandwich person, so I kind of had to think, what am I going to do that I actually want to do? Like, I'm not like, I didn't want to make it up. Like, I didn't, you know, like, it's like, pick your favorite sandwich. And I'm like, sandwiches aren't my thing. Like, you know, I don't have a favorite sandwich. Favorite dessert? Oh yeah, I could do all the desserts, but favorite sandwich, that's not really my thing. I'm like, what am I going to do? So I decided to do a s'more exploded sandwich, because if you think about it, a s'more is a sandwich. So the pieces of bread were the graham crackers. It's like somebody threw it up in the air. That's kind of like the meaning of the exploded sandwich for this project. I took a picture of it just with the outlined, and then when I colored it as well, I have some marshmallows. There's a little bit of chocolate syrup or whatever floating. There's the Hershey's chocolate, and then there's some Oreos. I just wanted to include a few different things. This might not actually be what a s'more looks like when I eat one. I just very simple with s'mores, but I had to include some things to make it like look like variety. So I really like how this one turned out. It was an interesting way to complete the class, but I really liked drawing techniques. It was one of my favorite classes. For English actually wasn't that hard. It was funny because the way that they prepared you at my high school, I think it was more prepare for university, because the way they did this communications class at my college was like, in high school it was like, oh, you have to do everything in MLA and APA format, and the format is more important than your actual content. And then I go to college, and it's like, oh yeah, just write a paragraph. Doesn't need to be double spaced, doesn't need to be an essay, just write a paragraph, you know? I'm like, seriously? Like, it's important to have that knowledge, but like how much they hammered it into me in high school, and now it's like the English teacher is like, yeah, whatever, just as long as you hand something in. And I'm like, okay. Learned all that stuff for basically no reason. Not no reason, but you know. Then we had to do a film review. That was like a big portion of the grade. I decided to do my film review on the movie The Notebook. It was like writing an essay, but not like double spaced, not like anything like that. It was like the format was up to you. And then design appreciation. So this class was also really boring. It was art history. History is boring. I don't think it gets any better than that. At least it's boring for me. You might feel different, but it's boring for me. So this class, we looked at a textbook. I didn't read a lot of it, but I probably should have. And we looked at a textbook, and we looked at different videos of designers, a whole bunch of different designers, architects, interior designers, film designers, graphic designers, like lettering artists, stuff like that. But it was hard to have to go to class and know we were going to watch a 45-minute video every time we went to class and then talk about things afterwards. It was and it was an afternoon class, so it was very hard to actually want to go. There was like 2 tests, and it was funny because the quizzes, because that's what they were, quizzes. They were, he gave us a practice study quiz. And you know what? All of those 12 questions, 12 questions, not that many, and they're all multiple choice or true and false. All of those were on the actual test. And the test was online, multiple attempts, so you could keep going until you get it right. And does it tell you the right answer? No, but it tells you what you got wrong. So if it's a true and false question, you just choose the other option. Like, it couldn't have gotten any more easier. Open book. Like, he's like, as long as you don't bring an expert into class with you to help you, I'm fine with basically anything. Like, that's what the teacher said. Like, I was like, okay. So we had 2 tests like that, super easy. And then there was one project that was a research a designer of your choice, and then do a poster on them. So I chose to do Saul Bass, and he was basically the first person that came up with the idea of that a credit sequence at the beginning of a film doesn't need to have to be just like white writing on black screen, because the audience isn't going to enjoy that. So he was the first one to think, we can make it into a piece of art. We can make it so that the audience isn't completely bored out of their minds, because this is it's a legality. Like, you need to have this stuff at the beginning of the film. But he's like, what if we made it into a thematic portrayal of what they're about to see? And so I did my poster and research stuff on him, because I thought that was kind of interesting, and that he was the first person to transform the opening credits scene of a movie to a piece of art. So I know this video was long, but thank you for sticking with me. And honestly, you would have quit already if you didn't find all of the projects interesting. There's always a reasonable amount of doubt when you are going to post-secondary. You've chosen your program, but you're like, I hope it's the right one for me. And I am pretty confident this is what I'm going to be doing for a long time, because I really enjoyed this first term of college. Of course, there's going to be classes that aren't your favorite, design appreciation, but it was a really good first term. I think my favorite classes were drawing techniques because I liked the variety of not always looking at a screen in every single class, because it is digital for the most part. My typography and my digital techniques classes were the only two that were basically paper. So I really liked my drawing techniques. It was fun to learn perspective and just get a break from looking at a screen all the time. Pencil and paper was really nice. And then I really liked digital tech because learning a new program was kind of interesting, learning things I didn't know how to do before, because I work on Procreate, so it's just an app on my iPad, versus this whole Adobe cloud with so many apps. Like, it was kind of interesting to learn all about that. So, and the projects were kind of fun too, as the further we got from the beginning, they got more fun. So I hope you have a lovely day. Let me know what you are doing for post-secondary in the comments below, because I just love to know what kind of stuff you're into. Are you into art too? Because it's so much fun. Anyways, have a lovely day, and I will see you next time. Sorry it was such a long video. Bye!